So we finally have a release date for Bleach Rebirth of Souls, and unsurprisingly, Yamamoto and Aizen have just been announced. However, that's not the end of this trailer, and it's been announced that this game will have costume sets, and there's some other concerning issues that need to be discussed. So let's dive into it. So Bleach Rebirth of Souls is an upcoming fighting game based on the hit anime series, and a lot of people are hoping for a win for this particular franchise because Bleach has a long history of video games dating back to the mid-2000s, from consoles to handhelds that were popular at the time, that were out on the market at the time. Yet none of them really took off, and nearly all of them were released in Japan only, never seeing a Western localization for nearly every single game based on this franchise. And for the games that have been ported, the reception has been less than stellar. A good example would be Jump Force. And the most popular Bleach game that has been released over in the West, which is Bleach Brave Souls, is a gacha mobile game that's designed to waste as much of your time and money as possible. So a lot is riding on this game. A lot of people are hoping that this game will be the definitive Bleach experience with modern production values and a competent fighting system. Of course, there's potential issues that has been showcased thus far with the gameplay already, which has turned a number of people off. But I don't want to focus on that with this particular upload. Instead, what I want to focus on is what was revealed at the end of the release date trailer. So there's two important things that are very concerning. The first is this costume set idea. So they're implementing 1,000-year Blood War costumes into the game, which really doesn't make much sense because the game doesn't cover that part of the franchise. The game will only cover the beginning of Bleach and will run through the end of the Arrancar arc, and will showcase Aizen's defeat. Anything beyond that, the game will not cover. So anything dealing with the Stern Ritters or the 1,000-year Blood War, anything related to that, this game will not cover. But still, they're throwing in these costume sets. Okay, here's a good question. Why are you using these costume sets as pre-order bonuses? Why are they not just available in the game? Or are they available in the game and you can unlock them normally, but we just don't know it yet, and Tamsoft and Bandai Namco is using content that's in the game that players can access in the game for free as pre-order incentives, which is actually much worse a proposition if that's what's going on. Using alternate costumes and other aesthetical items as pre-order incentives, I don't know, it seems very scummy to me. And it seems to be a somewhat outdated business model in the industry. And Bandai Namco didn't do this for Sparking Zero, so why they've allowed this for Rebirth of Souls is beyond me. So that's problem number one. But there's an even greater issue that this game is clearly going to have, which are these so-called soul crystals. Clearly, these are microtransactions. There's no one or two ways about it. Microtransactions has the consistent ability to ruin any game that they're implemented in, especially for fighting games, because it's clear that if a company implements microtransactions, then they're using those microtransactions as a means to offset whatever losses the company will take based on the product's market performance. And at first I was thinking, why would Bandai Namco implement microtransactions into a game like this, knowing that the game is likely going to recoup its budget back, because Bandai Namco has a history of greenlighting sequels even when these anime games don't sell a huge number of copies, a huge number of units. But then I noticed something very interesting, which is the price. Bandai Namco is selling Rebirth of Souls only for $60 for the base version of the game. Whereas with Sparking Zero, they kept the price of that game at $70, which is the industry standard now. And Dragon Ball Sparking Zero was not worth anywhere near $70. The people that bought that game on console paid $70. The people who played on PC, if they were smart, such as myself, they bought the game at a discount. So I got Dragon Ball Sparking Zero for $60 through a separate marketplace. And that separate marketplace usually has Bandai Namco titles available. So it's only a matter of time before Bleach Rebirth of Souls is added to the list before its release. And as a PC player, I'll be able to get the game for $50. But if you play on console, you're going to be eating that $60 purchase. So why is this important? Well, it showcases that Bandai Namco does not have faith in their own product. And Bandai Namco is not a stupid company. The people that are running Bandai Namco are not idiots. They know full and well that Bleach is nowhere near as popular as Dragon Ball, and it's nowhere near as popular as Naruto. So it only makes sense to sell this game for a lower price, and then recoup the losses through implementation of microtransactions. Now, if I had to take a guess, the type of content that the microtransactions in this game are going to be applied to are going to involve costume sets, which we've already seen with the pre-order bonuses, and possibly stat-related buffs will feature microtransactions as well. Because looking at this list right here, I see something called an attack soul crystal. And then I see a defense soul crystal. I also see a spiritual pressure soul crystal and a special soul crystal. So there's different types. I'm assuming represented by these different colors and symbols. And if there's an unknown system where the characters in the game can have their stats increased, their stats buffed through use of these items, it could also call into question just how competent the competitive side of the game will actually be when it comes to the online multiplayer. So the way I see it right now, anyone who pre-orders this game blindly is clearly a super fan of the series, also known as a fanboy, also known as a shill, also known as a sheep, because right now there is not enough information on this game to warrant a purchase. Objectively, we don't know enough information about the content offerings for this game. Even with the release date trailer, they showed parts of the story mode, but they didn't give any specifics in the actual trailer itself regarding how long the story mode actually is, how many hours as an estimate. More importantly, we don't know the format of what the story mode is going to be with regards to its presentation. Is it going to be closer to the Naruto Storm games with like a timeline? Or is it going to be some bullshit like what Bandai Namco did with Sparking Zero, where you have these character maps? Or is it going to be something completely different? What are some of the other gameplay modes going to be? Besides the normal versus and, your typical online ranked and player matches, which I believe that's the only thing that this game is going to have when it comes to the online multiplayer. I don't think they're going to give you any lobbies where you can, roam around and talk to other players. So it's not going to be a Fighter Z or a Street Fighter 6 or a Tekken 8, sort of thing. I don't think Bandai Namco wants to spend the budget for something like that. I think it's going to be very, very standard for what the online offerings is going to be. And we do have some players that seem to think that the online multiplayer is going to save this game. The online multiplayer is not going to save this game. This game needs to have strong offline single-player content offerings. This is why Dragon Ball Sparking Zero flopped rather quickly after its release, because the game just didn't have any content. And the content that was there sucked shit. And I'm very concerned about Rebirth of Souls because Bandai Namco has released 4 lazy-ass anime fighting games in a row from over the last few years. which really started with that Demon Slayer game, the Hinokami Chronicles. Then they released that Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash mess, which I did not buy because I don't watch that series. Then they released Naruto Storm Connections, which was horrible and extremely lazy. And most recently, they released Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. The pattern with these things is that Bandai Namco will release these anime games with a low budget, lack of content across the board, with unbalanced gameplay that's focused more on fan service, rather than providing an authentic quality experience for these fan bases, and they'll rely on the game's marketing campaign and pre-order numbers in order to make a profit. And thus far, unfortunately, it's proven to be a winning business model for them. And there's no reason to believe right now that Bleach Rebirth of Souls will be any different. So, what I need, personally, is more information before I decide to put any money down on this game. The two main things are obvious. I need more details regarding the actual character roster. And I'll probably make a separate video talking about that. I don't want to get too much into that here. But I do need more details on the character roster. This game was announced a few months ago, and they've only announced 20 characters, which is concerning within of itself. If you want to count Aizen and Yamamoto, which were just revealed in the release date trailer, then that's 22 characters so far. Again, very concerning. And the second thing, and even more importantly, are the actual content offerings, the gameplay modes. I need more details on that stuff before I decide that this game is worth the money. Because already there's a number of huge red flags with these costume sets and these soul crystal items, which clearly are going to be microtransactions. So that's where I stand with Bleach Rebirth of Souls right now. I don't suspect that Bandai Namco is going to radically change their marketing strategy, which largely has been, we'll reveal one character a week on Mondays, and not really deviate too much from that pattern. The marketing since the last video I made on this game has not improved. The reveals have been completely random. I've seen some comments online saying that Bandai Namco is revealing characters based off of the 1,000-Year Blood War show, which is clearly false and not the case. Some people thought that they were going to reveal Hiyu Raku recently because I guess he was involved in a major episode in the 1,000-Year Blood War show. But instead, what Bandai Namco actually did is they released the release date trailer and announced Yamamoto and Aizen at the end of that trailer. So there is no pattern or predictability to the characters that they actually reveal. Only that they've been revealing at least one character a week for the past few months, with very little deviation. And if they keep that pattern, I suspect that this game will not have a lot of characters on the final roster by the time this game releases in late March, unless it's delayed, which I don't suspect it will be. Another concerning thing is this game is rated T for teen. It should be rated M for mature because Bleach is actually a very dark series, at least when it comes to the depiction of gore and violence. And that's another sign that Bandai Namco cares more about profit than being authentic to franchise itself. But anyway, not to drag on, those are my main concerns with this game. I need more information on the character roster and the content offerings before I decide to put any money down on this.